Hello everyone and welcome to Wervin's World. Today I would like to talk about the hierarchy of needs. So once you build a colony, you actually need to keep your colonists happy. So these are kind of recently introduced mechanics and they're fairly complicated. And basically all the knowledge there is at the moment has just been kind of found out by players themselves. So they've been trying to figure out how everything works. So keep that in mind, that whatever I'm going to tell you might not be 100% correct, but at least it seems to work out fairly well in order to keep your colonist happy. So what are the hierarchy of needs? Well, there's this American psychologist, Maslow, who at some point proposed that human beings go through a hierarchy of needs, which is basically a pyramid scheme. And when the first level has been satisfied, they kind of move up to the next level. So basically, you start off needing to fulfill your physiological needs, then you start thinking about safety, then you start thinking about love and belonging, and then about esteem and self-actualization, where you really want to work on becoming what you want to become. So if you want to become a teacher, then you will try and become a teacher. That's self-actualization. So how does this work in the game? Well, so you build a colony, right? And the colony, you want to produce things like iron or grain or whatever. But first, before people start working, you will need to satisfy their physiological needs. So that means you need to provide breathable air, you need to provide water and food, and you need to provide shelter. So to do this, you need to build several things. You need to have enough water in your colony. You need to have food in your warehouse. So you need to build a warehouse and stock in for foods. That's grain, vegetables, fruit, and meat. And you need to build residential areas so that people can actually live. So then you've actually satisfied these needs. If you build a entertainment complex in your colony, you can hover over it with your mouse, and then you see a lot of numbers. So these two numbers, the food security and the housing security, those you really want at 100%, because those are the things that relate to the physiological needs of the workers. And if you don't satisfy those, they're not going to work for you. It's fairly easy to get this in 100%. You basically, well, you need either make your colony on a terraformed world or make domes that have breathable air in them. Then you need to build some water towers and put food in warehouses and have residential areas. Not really a problem. So that's fairly easy to do. So then once these physiological needs are satisfied, people want to think about safety. And the safety is both on a personal kind of financial level and on a health level. So basically people want to work so that they can make money, but they also want to be healthy. So let's start with the health stuff. So you would need to buy a hospital or build a hospital. And you need to provide basic medical supplies by using the basic medical supply factory that uses grain in order to make these supplies. So people figured out that it's probably best to have like one hospital for every 50,000 people. And basic medical supplies, you don't need a lot of factories at all. I've got a colony now and I only have 3 of these supply factories. And basically my stock has only been going up. So they work fairly fast. I actually, as you can see here, I surrounded my medical supply factories with water towers because they get a slight bonus from that. So I figured why not? I have the space anyway, so just put them between towers to create some extras. How can you see how you're doing on health? Well, as you can see here, you have 70% in healthcare, and at the moment that's the maximum. If you look down a bit, you can see that this 70% comes from 60% of the hospitals. So once this is not 60%, you know you don't have enough hospitals and you should build another one. Then plus 10% from basic medical supplies. That's if you have enough basic medical supplies. If that's not on 10%, you should build more of these factories. But then you see that there's plus 0% from advanced medical supply and plus 0% from doctors. And this is not higher because at the moment you cannot get advanced medical supplies or doctors. So at the moment your healthcare is stuck at 70%. That's the best you can do. At some point there will be advanced medical supplies and doctors, and then this can go higher. But at the moment you don't have to worry about it, right? Then there is employment security. This is normally fairly easy. You can recruit colonists for your colony, and it's exactly the same amount as that you need. However, if you, for example, build a lot of buildings where people work and then you power them down for some reason, then all these people kind of get fired and they're just hanging about and they're going to be sad, and your employment security will go down. And this will affect basically your productivity a little bit. But in general, it's very, very easy to have 100% employment security as well as 70% healthcare. So once you've thought about that, then you need to start thinking about love and belonging, which is also very easy to take care of. People, they need friendship, intimacy, and family. And to do that, you basically need to build an entertainment complex where people can socialize. People say, well, 1 in 50,000 is enough. However, if you do more entertainment complexes, then basically people can socialize faster and you get bigger bonuses faster. And entertainment complexes are not that expensive in resources. So I think I built like 10 at the beginning. So that means I have enough entertainment complexes for a long, long time. So then I don't have to worry about it for a while. How do you see how you're doing on entertainment? You can look at the social integration. So here you can see that it's 56% social integration and it's trending towards 100%. So you know you have enough entertainment complexes because it's trending to 100%. However, like socialization takes time, social integration takes time. So it's not 100% immediately, but you can see it's trending towards that value. So over time it will become 100%, which means you have enough of these buildings. So that's all fairly easy. And now kind of the more complicated part of the game starts, and it's also stuff that hasn't been figured out completely yet. But it has been figured out to an extent that it's completely workable. So basically for the game, esteem and self-actualization are put into one level. So kind of in the game there's only 4 levels: physiological, safety, love and belonging, and then these 2 are put together. And basically for self-actualization you need education. People need to be educated into the job that they want. There isn't many jobs they can work in at the moment, which is basically just mine office buildings and farm office buildings. According to the game, when you want to build a university, the university says it also takes 300 tertiary educated people. However, it doesn't really seem to be the case that this is in the game yet at all. So it seems that the university actually just uses normal people, while the mine office building and the farm office buildings actually use educated people. So how do you educate people? Well, you need to build universities, and each university educates about 3 educated people a day. So it basically transforms a normal person into an educated person. And then mine office buildings and farm office buildings, they increase the efficiency of your mines and farms. If you don't have them, it's stuck at 75%. If you do have enough mine office buildings, it goes to 120%. So they're actually worth trying to get educated people for these. It's about enough to have 1 mine office building and 1 farm office building for 1 in 20 mines or 1 in 20 farms. Some people say, for example, 1 on 16 or 1 on 18. So somewhere around that value is a good number. However, these need to be stocked with educated people, and 1 university educates 3 a day, but each mine office building takes 300 educated people. So it takes 1 university a long time to fill these up. So you could build more universities to fill these up, but I'll get into that in a little bit. How do you see how well you're doing for that? Well, you can go to the bottom line here, and you can see that here at the moment 0.015% of ambitious colonists are satisfied with their employment. So once all the ambitious colonists, which is about 20% of your colony total, those people want to get educated, and you can find a job for those educated people, then this percentage will be much higher. Lastly, I'll go into this in detail in a bit, but lastly I want to talk about morale. Basically the morale is kind of, as far as I understand, it's kind of a summary of how well you're doing, and the morale goes up, and it also means that your production goes up, but the morale automatically goes up if the other stuff goes up as well. So it's not, you can't build a building for morale as far as I know. Anyway, yes, universities. The problem of universities is, well, you want to educate people, and you want to educate them to in order to work in control offices. As you can see here on the right, I've got 35.8% workers fully qualified, so educated for this building, and that means I have a 102% mining efficiency, which can go up to 120%. So if you have a colony, about 20% of that will want education. So let's say this is my population, and let's say each smiley face represents 1,000 people, and this means that there's 20,000 people. And if 20% of those want education, that's a fifth of 20,000, so that means 4,000 people will want education. So I need to build, for example, mining offices for those people to work in. The problem is that one university trains 3 a day. So if I want to train those 4,000 people, that would actually take me 1,300 days, which is, well, it's a long time. So it's about 4 years. So you want to make this faster. Let's say I want to train everybody in a week. Then, well, we have 4,000 people, 3 per day per university, times 7 days is a week. That means that it would take 190 universities to train everybody in a week. However, the problem is that each university takes 300 people in. So by building 190 universities, we need 75,000 people. So we basically now have 4 times as much population as we had before, and 20% of your population will want to get educated. So suddenly you need to educate a whole lot more. You need to educate 12,000 people more, which will take a while again. So basically, I guess the morale is don't build too many universities, because it can quickly go out of hand how many people you need, and you might not have jobs for all those people that want to get educated, right? So you need to find a good balance. We'll go into that a bit later. So the biggest problem, I think, in this hierarchy of needs are the mining offices, the mining and farming offices. They all take 300 workers, right? So you need to be careful with not building too much, like the tip that I gave to build 1 for every 20 mines. I think that's a good thing to stick to, because let's say in for an extreme example, let's say you add 10,000 mining offices at once. They all take 300 educated workers, so they would take 3 million population. So you build those and you get 3 million colonists. However, only 20% of that population wants to get trained. So not everybody wants to work in a mining office. So you need to be careful not to have too many mining offices, otherwise you will never be able to fill them up with enough educated workers. So how does this get into practice? Well, I'll make another video on basically how to optimize your colony, but in general I can show you how I did it first. And as you can see here, this is my first dome that I made, and I just made sure I had enough water towers. I think I built like 8-ish or 10 universities. Then I built a stock market, which you need in order to trade stuff. I built 1 hospital. I built 3 of those offices, basic medical supply factories, and I surrounded those with water towers. And then I just built a lot of entertainment complexes in there and some warehouses, because you need warehouses to stock in food for people to get happy. Then in the other dome, I built mines and had them in a checkered pattern with residential areas, so that each mine would be surrounded by residential area, and they get a lot of bonus from being close to residential area. So I guess it's because people are faster to get to work or something. So that solves all my needs. So I have the entertainment complex, I have food, I have shelter, I've got the hospital, I've got the basic medical supplies, and then I've got a row of mining offices. And I basically, I started building, I think I built 3 mining offices at first, because I had about 50 mines, and you need 2 per like 20 mining per 20 mines. So I just built 3 mining offices, and the universities have slowly been training people for these mining offices. This won't be instant that you have enough educated people, but I'm also not in a hurry. Even at 75% efficiency, my colony still produces a fair amount of stuff. So it's only going to get better, but I don't really need immediate enough educated people. So if you just have patience, you can just, I think I now have about 15 universities, and that's going to last me for a while. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say about the hierarchy of needs. In my next video, where I'll show you how to optimize your base, we'll get back to this hierarchy of needs and which buildings to build where and when. But this should give you a good overview on how it works at the moment. So this is very much a work in progress. There will be more buildings coming at some point for us to build to keep the people more happy. So these mechanics will change at some point, but at the moment this is how it works. So I hope you found it useful, and see you next time.